So, yeah, we have to do our 3% of 8,300. And amazingly, Ethan did that in his head. Good work.
I think he just looked at my paper. Sure.
So he then we move the decimal over 2 times, divide by 100. So we find out that's $249. So what I'm getting at with this is you might have started, like you might hear this, this happens more at smaller businesses. And I see it a lot of like local restaurants, like restaurants that are owned by like a person that lives here versus like McDonald's or something like that. But it says, why do some businesses charge more for credit card purchase compared to cash purchase? So you might see on your check at a restaurant, it might say cash price and then the credit card price. Do you know why that is?
I know.
Yeah, Michael?
Because vendor charge the business.
Yeah, vendors charge the business, and so they get charged per credit card, like, purchase that people do. So if, let's say, we're buying something for $8,300, the business is getting charged $249 for that. They're gonna lose that money unless they charge you that amount or give you a discount if you decide to pay cash. And so they're kind of trying to work with you to say, like, let's both work with cash here, and then that's going to be cheaper for both of us. So that's something that we're going to talk about today, is that credit card charge that vendors get, or that businesses get from like Visa or whatever company they work with. They get charged an additional amount, and they're trying to recoup that. Because over the course of a day, like let's say this is the business's profit for the day, they're losing almost $250 that day because they allowed people to all charge with credit. Versus, and over the course of time, obviously that adds up. And you might say, well, I'm the customer, I should be able to choose whatever I want, but again, this is possibly like a small business. I know this happens a lot at someplace, or I know I've seen this at gas stations. There's a cash price and a credit price, and so that's something that's important. I know that some bigger purchases, they'll give you that option to pay cash. And when we talk about paying cash, that might mean writing a check. So when we talk about, well, I'm gonna do everything with a credit card, that a check is considered cash in a lot of like business situations, because a lot of us can't walk up with $8,300 in cash. Otherwise, you can also do like a purchase order or a money order. So we'll talk about that a little bit. This is morbid, but my sister just planning my nephew's funeral recently. A funeral is a very expensive cost, and the funeral home was like, if you can pay cash, we'll give you. So I was like, the funeral home charges that, but it's a business, and it's a local business, and they had a GoFundMe set up, so she had that cash that she could pull out of there, but that was just one extra thing that she was like kind of stressing about, because she was like, well, we're gonna save, and funerals can be like up to like $10,000, so kind of crazy. So like thinking about that in a time when you're not anticipating purchasing something like that. So we want to think about that today in terms of what people charge or what banks charge. And so talking about the merchant, that means like the business we're going to discuss here. And like I said, you probably see this a lot more at smaller businesses. We might see it more at larger businesses in certain cities or something like that. You might notice this, or maybe you don't even notice that. They don't really advertise it a lot of times. Like again, they hand me a receipt, like we like Pacifico in Plymouth. We go to Pacifico, and on the receipt it just has the 2 prices. Like it's not advertised necessarily, but I can see that I paid like a few dollars less if I paid in cash. So cash is free, so the business doesn't have to pay anything for that. So if we use cash, that would just be free. Now for a credit card, it can range depending on the business and depending on who they work with. I'm going to pull this up because this isn't something that I like know a ton about because obviously I don't own my own business. But it could be 2% or more. So whatever the cost is, and so if it's a larger value, so again, something that's thousands of dollars, that's that much more profit that they're losing out on. So understanding, like being understanding of that, they're not trying to be jerks, they're just, I mean, it's a business. Now a debit card, I didn't know this, and like, I looked it up, this book says it's usually around 21 cents per swipe that they lose. But I'm assuming, I don't know if it's a percentage, so it is it's a little bit less, but like I looked it up, I Googled it, it said like 35 cents. So it depends, there is a fee per swipe. And remember, a debit card versus a credit card is different. The debit card comes right out of my checking account. So it's a little bit more instant. And then a mobile payment is so like when you have money online, or I mean maybe this is like Apple Pay, something like that. This varies. So we want to make sure we're aware though that cash is what businesses prefer typically. And a lot of times we talk about going cashless, like in our school keeps talking about going cashless. But then we also talk about this, many places want us to have cash because it's cheaper, so I don't really know, you know, there's a lot of balance with that, so like our confusion. I know like during COVID, a lot of places were not even accepting cash, they didn't want to like have that exchange. So, but that was that time like, where it was like, are we, is this some sort of weird conspiracy or whatever, but it was just what it was. Okay, so, okay. So we're gonna talk about a couple of these different formulas they're gonna ask us about here. So, net credit card sales is the total sales, and then we subtract off any returns or refunds. Obviously, we don't get credit for any refunds, so if we have credit card sales, we get to subtract off those refunds. Now, our total fee, the refunds won't get like double charged for the refunds like with the fee. So the fee is the percentage that whatever the company deals with times the net sales. So they won't get charged for refunds. Like that will get kind of credited back to them. And then finally the net deposit, what they actually get to put in, is the total, the net sales minus the fee. So obviously we don't get to deposit our fees, you're paying some of those fees. Okay? All right, when you guys are ready, flip that over. All right, so we're basically gonna do an example of a problem that is gonna be similar to your homework. So basically I just took one out of our homework and we're gonna break it down, and there's gonna be two like this in your homework. So we're gonna kind of go through step by step here. So for whatever reason, this book likes the company Rose Gardens. We've used Rose Gardens before. So we have Rose Gardens, they accept credit cards. The business has the following credit card charges and credits. So we have sales and refunds. So again, we get to get rid of those refunds, or we have to take those refunds out. And then we're gonna go through answering all these different questions. So what's the total amount of credit card sales? So we're gonna add up all of our sales together, and then we'll talk about the refunds. So we're gonna take all these and add them together. So we have to do that math. and I'll save us a little bit of time. I'll write the answer. So we'll add all those together. We're ignore refunds. Now remember, refunds, they're not going to match this because this refund could be a month later. And that's sometimes why businesses only allow you to return for so long, is because it's still on their books or it's recent in their books. When it's so old, it makes it hard to like account for. So if we add all these together, our total sales for this amount of time here are $2,419.76. Now we need to take off the refunds, or this wants us the total amount of credit card refunds. So we're going to add these refunds up and do that down here. So what are we returning to customers that's being refunded? So if I add those up, $203.86. Says find the credit card sales less refunds. So we're going to subtract these two. So we have to take these two away from each other because that's what we actually took in with our credit card sales. So we're subtracting 2,419.76, and we're subtracting off the refunds. And that's going to give us our total, like what we actually took in with our credit. Sorry, 1,590. Now here's where the fee comes in. So this small company, this Rose Gardens, doesn't sound like it's a really, I don't know, maybe this is just one day, I don't know how much this covered. But it says if the bank charges them a 3% fee, find the amount of the charge at the statement date. So how much are they paying to their bank? How much of this is going to be taken out of like their profit? So we have to do 3% of this $2,215. Just like we did in our warm-up question. So again, you guys can do that however you'd like. You can change it to a decimal and multiply it. You can set up the proportion. And it ends up being $66.48. That is the fee to the bank. And again, that doesn't sound like enough, like a ton, but maybe that's one of your part-time employees for the day. Like that was a pay that, or that was money coming in that we no longer have. It's kind of just, again, a fee is like, it's kind of considered a penalty, and this company is losing that money then. And we do round it, it's 477, and so we round up. And then so it says find the amount of credit to Rose Garden after the fee is subtracted. So now we're subtracting these two. This is what they end up putting in or being able to deposit that into their account. Okay? So this is what you guys will be doing for today, is literally just two questions like this, two different businesses, kind of the same question. Just watch the fee changes, because the fee can change depending on the company, who they deal with. You know, maybe there's an advantage to be with one company versus the next. I don't really know how it works, but there might be a different fee depending on the business. So that's what you're going to look at. This is all we have to get done for today. This goes out to you. Again, please let me know if there's anything that we can